There is one current New York Ranger on the roster that definitely has a lot of questions surrounding that certain player about their potential contract extension, which could be signed at any point now. And that, of course, is Artemi Panarin, the New York Rangers superstar forward. And I think right now, after it being, about like 2 weeks or so now since July 1st, and there is still yet to be a contract extension actually handed out. And we really haven't heard a lot of kind of rumors and stuff like you may normally hear about a player and a team kind of talking about an extension, especially when it is a superstar caliber guy like Panarin. So we haven't really heard any noise about a possible extension. There could have been one signed for about the past kind of 2 weeks now since July 1st on the start of NHL free agency. So there's kind of a big question right now. Are the Rangers going to hand out a contract extension to Artemi Panarin as he'll become an unrestricted free agent next summer? So that's what we're going to kind of talk about and take a look at in today's video is kind of what the Rangers are doing in the situation with Artemi Panarin and his possible contract extension, which could happen at any moment now, but of course hasn't up to date and it may not happen. There is definitely the possibility where we're in the next summer and we don't see Artemi Panarin as a New York Rangers. And I would say another big question as well involving this contract situation here with the Rangers and Panarin is what kind of a deal would he sign if he does end up re-signing with the Rangers? Is it going to be a long-term deal, a short-term deal? Is he looking for full kind of possible market value that he could, the highest kind of cap that he could possibly earn? If he were to hit free agency, would he want that with the Rangers? Or would he be willing to take a bit of a discount as well? Because I think that's something that with a guy like Panarin, with his age, after him already earning so much, money over this past contract, there were the Rangers signing a pretty massive deal, would he be willing to take a bit of a discount where maybe the Rangers are giving him like a 3, 4, maybe even 5-year deal, but that cap hit might possibly be like in the 6s maybe, right? Which could be an absolute steal. So that's kind of another big question there. We saw a guy like Giroux kind of take a bit of a discount to stay back with the Sens. We've seen many other players do that as well. So would a guy like Panarin be willing to take a bit of a discount to stay with the Rangers here and help this team, be a much more competitive squad with him taking maybe, 3, 4, 5, 6 mil less than what he could hypothetically potentially get on the open market? So that's another big question there as well. How much would he be willing to take in a discount, if any at all? So I can't talk on that side of things too much there because obviously I have no idea kind of what Panarin's thoughts and feelings are on possibly taking a discount to come back with the Rangers. But what I do know is Panarin is and has been the most valuable offensive player on this team since he got here. He has been the clear top offensive threat for this squad, and that's why I think if you do end up letting him walk away and you don't end up re-signing Panarin, you absolutely, and I'm talking about Chris Drury in the front office there, of course, you must go out there and replace him. Because if this team wants to have any hope of making the playoffs and competing for a playoff spot and, competing in the playoffs if they actually get there, you cannot just let this Rangers team, as things kind of sit right now, just kind of lose Panarin there and replace him with a, decent kind of middle 6 caliber or even like low tier kind of top 6 caliber forward. It can't just be a decent kind of guy to replace him. You'd have to go out there and find a true kind of high-end star or superstar caliber player because you can't just lose that much offensive production. This guy has been the clear top offensive guy, like I said, since he got here. He has been doing that over the last kind of 6 seasons so far. And, with this Rangers team already not being, one of the kind of top-tier offenses in the NHL, losing your top guy would just mean this team takes an even further step back from those top teams, which would just not be a good scenario at all. So that's why I think if he does end up leaving, which I don't think it is the absolute worst thing in the world if Panarin does, but if he does, that means you have to have a plan B there. You have to have another plan there to go out there and replace him because you can't just let him walk away for nothing. So I think it's either you bring Panarin back or you have a pretty good idea that you're getting one of these kind of top guys possibly in the 2026 free agency, which we're going to talk about now, or some other kind of trade target they're going to be picking up because you can't just let this kind of a guy who's that 100-point caliber guy, walk away and just not replace him at all with a team who's already not a kind of top-end offense in the entire NHL. So let's get into it here and take a look at the 2026 kind of top NHL potential for agents, as there are a couple real superstar names, but obviously the question is, are they actually going to end up getting there? Because a guy like Mikko Rantanen was someone who, of course, was talked about for a long time there about being one of those kind of top dogs, potentially in free agency. But, of course, he ends up signing an extension, which many of these other star players could do before the 2026 free agency starts next summer. But let's take a look here at the top names and see which guys could potentially be pretty good replacements for someone like Panarin in this scenario where we hypothetically are seeing him walk away in free agency and the Rangers are in need of replacing him. So the top guys as of right now that could potentially become available, first off, you've got Connor McDavid, who I'm going to be honest, I don't think he's going to end up hitting free agency. I think he will sign a probably nice extension with the Oilers. That's kind of my guess as of right now, but things can change and maybe he does end up walking away, which would be pretty incredible for this Rangers team. I would imagine that if he does somehow end up reaching free agency, hits July 1st without a contract with the Oilers, that the Rangers would probably be one of those kind of top destinations for him. They'd first off have the cap space available in this scenario with Panarin leaving to go out there and pretty much pay him whatever kind of contract he'd want to with, also Soucy's deal expiring and the cap going up. So they definitely have the cap space available. They'd also have the need to add in a star caliber guy like a McDavid to help replace the offense you're losing with Panarin, which McDavid would obviously bring a lot more to the team as well. So I think it would obviously make a lot of sense there in this scenario. And for McDavid, if he's going to leave the Oilers, the Rangers, like I said, I definitely do expect to be one of those kind of top franchises that are linked to him and definitely seem like a realistic kind of fit if he does actually leave, which, like I said, I don't think will happen. But if he does, the Rangers should be one of those top teams to potentially sign him, which would be absolutely incredible. And after McDavid, there's still some really solid players as well that could potentially become available. You've also got, of course, Kyle Connor, who is a very talented winger. He could be a perfect kind of replacement there for Panarin. You got that left winger coming in to replace another left winger, of course. Kyle Connor just being a younger kind of player here. Connor had 97 points this past season there in 82 games played, so well over a point per game caliber guy. Entering the last year of his $7.142 million contract. I think he very well likely will end up leaving the Winnipeg Jets there. We saw Nikolai Ehlers do it, and I would guess he'll follow suit. So hopefully for their sake, they end up trading him away and get something back for him. But if they don't do that, and he does walk away without an extension with any team there, I do think the Rangers would be a pretty nice kind of fit for a guy like that as well, too. Hypothetically, you're letting Panarin walk there and you're just bringing in the guy who's like 5 years younger to help kind of replace that production that you just lost there, which Kyle Connor, maybe season in, season out, isn't going to bring like over the last kind of, 6 years we saw for Panarin. He may not have those kind of exact numbers there over his kind of first 6 with the Rangers there, but I do think Connor could definitely be a kind of great offensive threat for this team and is definitely a top line caliber guy. So I do think he could be a pretty nice replacement for Panarin. Next up here is Jack Eichel, who's obviously a very good two-way centerman. He is a 100-point, I would say, kind of caliber offensive player, and also a, really good kind of higher-end defensive centerman as well, So I definitely do think he would obviously be an incredible pickup. Is it likely? No, I don't think any of these players are, but obviously Jack Eichel, if he somehow did become available, which I don't see happening there, Vegas, they get what they want. It seems like whatever they want, whether it's a player they want to trade for or sign, it just seems like it happens there. So I'm going to imagine they'll figure out some kind of a way to, bring in Marner this offseason and obviously re-sign a guy like Jack Eichel as well. They'll figure something out there, I'm sure. And next up here is Kirill Kaprizov, who I'm going to be honest, he is someone who I do think actually is a somewhat kind of realistic kind of target for the Rangers to kind of hope actually becomes available. I think out of him, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, and Connor McDavid, the clear two guys who I would put on the side of probably re-signing is McDavid and Eichel. And then the more of the side of kind of potentially actually becoming available, I would definitely have guys like Connor and Kirill. I think they both have a more likely kind of scenario to potentially actually hit free agency there than the other two guys, but that doesn't mean Kirill is not a phenomenal player, which he definitely is. He's a true kind of number one, kind of high-end offensive threat there. This past season only had 41 games played, dealt with an injury, but did have 25 goals, 31 assists for 56 total points there, a 1.37 points per game. Not bad at all. 41 games played, 25 goals, like just insane numbers there. So I think this is obviously a high-end kind of offensive threat and would be such an amazing replacement for Panarin. He's also Russian. He's also a left winger and would just be a perfect replacement there when you're bringing in a guy who's like 5 years younger and is already at this moment right now, I would say definitely a better player than Panarin. I still think Panarin is a phenomenal player, but If you're talking about right now or to begin this upcoming season there for just this season, I'm taking a guy like Kirill over Panarin. That's just my kind of opinion there. If you think I'm wrong, let me know, of course. But I think Kirill is that kind of a player. He is such an amazing talent. So I think if they can somehow sign one of these four guys, that'd be incredible there. But the two more likely players to actually hit free agency and potentially sign with the Rangers, I definitely would say is Kirill Kaprizov and Kyle Connor. And there also are some other solid players as well, but I don't think any of them are actual kind of good enough replacements to really kind of replace what we would be hypothetically losing with Panarin if he does end up leaving. So comment down below your thoughts here on today's video. What are your thoughts on these four guys? Kyle Connor, Kirill Kaprizov, Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid. Do you think any of them are actually going to become available in free agency? I think I'm kind of crazy for even thinking this possible. We've been guys like Kirill or Kyle Connor. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who do you want to see replace Panarin if he does leave? And also, do you want to see him come back and on what kind of a contract? And lastly, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.